Hello, and thank you for tuning in today. Before we dive into our presentation, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. My name is Elisa Zanola, and I'm head of events for the Fashion Scholarship Fund. And as many of us are very familiar with Zoom at this point, there are some great features that we'd love for you to utilize. One of them is the comment box. Feel free to send chats to the panelists or your fellow attendees. And there's also the Q&A box. As questions come to mind, submit them in the Q&A box, and we'll answer as many as possible during the Q&A segment of the session. And now I'd like to introduce our Executive Director, Peter Arnold.
Thanks, Elisa. Welcome everybody who's, I think, buffering in from, I hope, our network of 66 schools, at which we have a presence and a connection that we used to connect with in a very personal way by visiting your campuses directly. This year, for all the right and expected reasons, we're doing campus visits virtually. We had a campus visit virtually a few weeks ago to all of our schools, and this one today is a visit that's specifically targeted to students who may be interested not just in the Fashion Scholarship Fund, but in Virgil Abloh's Postmodern Scholarship Fund. And so I can think of no two better representatives of the fund and of the experience than two members of the inaugural class of 2021. Hannah Harris, who is about to be a senior at SCAD. Welcome, Hannah. And Mecca Hodge, who, congratulations, just graduated from Auburn University. Welcome, Mecca. And Mecca and Hannah are joined by our board member and the founder of the Virgil Abloh Postmodern Scholarship Fund, Virgil Abloh. Welcome, Virgil.
Pleasure.
I am going to ask Elisa to pull up the deck, and we will, with Hannah and Mecca's and Virgil's help, walk you through the deck briefly, and then there'll be enough time at the end for a lot of Q&A, which Mecca and Hannah will handle with Virgil and me, and also Marie Coletta, who's on the call, who is our Director of Education Programs. So today, as this title page says, we're introducing you to the fund, and specifically to Virgil Abloh's Postmodern Scholarship Fund. We'll talk about the mission of both. We'll briefly talk about the member school network, probably most meaningfully the case study challenge, which is the crux of what we do and a way of enabling you to become a scholar. Briefly talk about eligibility, dive a little bit more deeply into Virgil's fund, the benefits of his fund and our scholarship, which include internships, career placement, our mentoring program. And then once you're a scholar, you are effectively an alumnus, and there are lots of additional benefits for you as a scholarship winner, including a series of summer events that we launch next week, actually. And so we really encourage anybody on the call who's interested in applying to enter the application portal as soon as possible. You don't have to submit your application, but you log in and get credentialed so that we can include you in all of our summer events. And then finally, just some very straightforward deadline and submission requirements, and then a Q&A that I mentioned that we encourage you guys to use to ask any and all questions of Virgil, Mecca, Hannah, or me, or Marie. So quickly, if you don't mind, Elise, if we could queue up a sizzle video of just what last year was like for us to give you a little bit of flavor of what we did with Virgil and others this past year.
The virtual world is growing and growing.
It brings a lot of comfort now.
Now more than
The biggest hurdle I faced when attempting to break into the fashion industry, was really just knowledge and having access. Access is so important.
This is the fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to find out what is it that you can bring to the table, and forget the old idea about we want to be invited to the table. Nobody cares. I can buy my own table, so I don't care about being invited.
Our goal when you go in at a virtual interview is to make you as memorable as possible.
Which basically means we're about to get busy. And it's like a pilot program to see if us putting like seed resources fosters a fashion community in a place that's like wouldn't otherwise have it.
Thank you guys for doing this.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you,
This is so
Virgil.
awesome.
Thank you guys so much.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that was a little bit of flavor of 2020, and now let's talk about 2021 and beyond. And I'm going to turn this over, Hannah, I think to you. The next slide.
So the FSF has a great mission to kind of facilitate the future careers of talented young adults from diverse backgrounds. And the reward and the scholarship is really just the start. There's going to be so much from mentorship opportunities to internship, career, professional development. And it's a really holistic experience that I would really recommend for anyone. And then for Virgil Abloh, specifically with the Postmodern Scholarship, the mission is geared more towards specifically Black, African American, or African descent students to provide scholarships to kind of foster equity within the space of fashion.
Virgil, did you want to say anything about maybe what this mission means to you and why we started this together?
Yeah, nah, thanks. You know, after coming out of 2020, it made a very clear moment for us as a whole community to understand the disparities in the statistics, but also what those statistics stand for, the lack of diversity within the fashion industry. So I myself, as a Black designer, in various spaces that aren't as diverse as I would like to see them be, I reached out to the Fashion Scholarship Fund to create a new pipeline, a new inroad whereby Black students or students from African descent and students at large actually are getting mentorship programs at Access, which are partnered up with myself with the Postmodern Scholarship Fund, but as well, we're awarding and mentoring and fostering young students' career and getting their foot in the door so that essentially the doors that I open up myself are left open for those that want to walk through themselves.
Great. Hannah, do you want to take that from next slide? Great.
The FSF works with over 66 colleges and universities, including HBCUs such as Spelman, Morehouse, and Howard University. And you can see the list here of all 66. And I'll give it off to Mecca.
Yes, so here are the 4 case study disciplines that they really focus on. There's design and product development, there's merchandising, marketing analytics, supply chain. And with these case studies, I would just say the biggest thing is to definitely make it your own. So, you know, I almost kind of fell in the trap of, well, let me do a case study that they will want to see, or let me focus on a brand that they would probably, you know, think would be a winning case study. But this is really the time to be creative. This is the time to really tap into your identity, what's important to you. And that really does kind of show in your case study, whether it be supply chain, whether it be design, marketing, you can definitely make this your own. And within these slides, within these specific requirements that they want, you're able to kind of meld the world of fashion, meld that business acumen, but also kind of combine it with what you love, what you want to see in the fashion industry, what's important to you. And I think that's where the case study challenge really is transformative, and it really just helps you to get such great experience in kind of building your own business.
Mecca, if you could go back, Elisa, that looks like a familiar slide on the upper right. Is that your case? Do you want to tell us what your case study was about?
Yeah. So yes, that's my winning case study for 2021. Last year we had to focus on a zeitgeist focused product, so something that's kind of like a sign of the times, something that's really kind of focused on Gen Z. And for me, I'm personally not from an immigrant background, but I have a lot of friends, Nigerian friends, Hispanic friends, Caribbean friends, and so for me, I felt like DVF and her story, her immigration story, really kind of would work well and really would go well with Gen Z mindset. I feel like Gen Z really loves to rep their heritage more so than any other generation before. And so with that, I decided to create a bucket bag. And on the bucket bag inscribed, it says, "Immigration made me," in 32 different languages. And yeah, I just felt that that was a product that would do really well with the DVF brand. It really would reach our generation. And it was something that really was just really important to me to highlight, especially, in 2020. So yeah, that's my project.
Great. And Hannah, you know this is coming. I think that's your project on the upper left. Do you want to just maybe tell us what your project was?
Yeah, so my project was called Silver Lining, and it focused on the beauty brand Aveda, and it really surrounded this idea of age inclusion and that gray hairs can be beautiful. The idea kind of came during the whole quarantine where people weren't able to go to the hair salon and dye their hair and their grays were kind of growing out. So it kind of was a campaign to embrace that a little bit more. And mine was merchandising, so not creating a product, but a campaign and the assortment plan to kind of go with it. So if you're into that, then I would recommend the merchandising case study for sure.
Thanks, Hannah.
So the eligibility requirements, full-time undergrad students, definitely students that are pursuing business disciplines. So of course, merchandising, design, even, supply chain. A 3.20 overall GPA is required. And with this, so it is for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. However, I would definitely say if you're a freshman or you know of any freshmen that are interested in this, I would say definitely kind of get to know FSF and just get some familiarity with it. So you can be prepared for it when you do decide to compete. I kind of wish I would have knew about it a little bit earlier. I would have definitely did it all 3 years. So I would just say definitely keep that in mind. And even if you, don't win this time, or if you have won in the past, you can definitely reapply. Honestly, I would say reapplying is even better. I mean, you come back stronger and you're just getting even more experience. So I would definitely say, reapply even if you don't get it that first time. And of course, the Postmodern Scholarship Fund is specifically for us. So it's, tailored to Black students, and definitely fostering some great opportunities that I think we tend to kind of miss out on or have missed out on. So it's a really big opportunity.
Thanks, Mecca.
Yeah, and before I move on, I just want to reiterate what Mecca said. I applied a year in 2019 and I did not get a scholarship, and then I applied again this time and I was a finalist. So definitely, I think even if don't get discouraged, work on your craft, do it again, and learn from it every single time, and you'll get better. So for Virgil Abloh's Postmodern Scholarship Fund, the fund is named Postmodern to kind of signify that it's not just about the scholarship, but the vital services and mentoring that you receive in addition to the scholarship. And the partners are great, ranging from Louis Vuitton, Nike, Off-White, Rimowa. And if you become a Postmodern Scholarship recipient, it comes with a $7,500 scholarship that will be awarded at the end of your spring semester, as well as working with FSF to secure a summer internship or project with a partner company, several virtual mentoring sessions, which personally are one of my favorite things, and one-on-one mentoring from an industry leader, opportunity to attend the FSF Summer Scholar Series as well, which is great for talent acquisition events and hearing from diverse voices in the industry. So how to apply for the scholarship? You're going to apply through the FSF case study competition, and you can set up your account now and submit your actual submission later. The FSF competition started on April 1st, when the portal opened, but the deadline to submit a case study is on October 18th. So you have some time. It's a great summer project to work on. And the postmodern scholarship recipients will have one additional question to answer in their cover letter to qualify for this scholarship.
I just wanted to also add in, or Peter, am I the next slide?
Yeah, no, I'd love to add in here, Virgil, just about what it means to you to be doing the mentoring that you're doing virtually, and knowing that your partners are providing opportunities and mentors. If you could maybe talk to a little of that, that'd be great.
Yeah, we've all heard that famous quote, like, be the change. I don't even know if we all heard it, but it seems like an omnipresent, sort of like, be the change that you want to see. And you know, most definitely, I became a fashion designer or an artist or whatever based on like this finding the open doors or getting inspired by documentaries, or any time that a figure that I looked up to sort of gave a little bit of surface area. That's what educated me. And so, you know, I find it that if our industry wants to change, you know, like, I'm being the change that I want to see. And so I'm curating postmodern while we're creating it. And that's changing and ebbing and flowing with the industry. So I'm inviting other people that I work with or other entities to come and speak to students and give knowledgeable on-the-go information about how to build your brand, how to focus on the new aspects of the industry, and constantly stay aware and current. And as was mentioned, I'm not a firm believer of purely winning anything. You know, I think that gets into a different sort of metric. So a large part of the mentorship that we're leading, you know, I want to make sure that it's open to the public, irregardless of, you know, winning the actual scholarship, because the problems that we're solving for are too vast to think in that way. So it's an honor to create, and yeah, it's an on-the-go thing, and everyone's welcome.
Nice. Thanks, Virgil.
So the benefit, starting with the range from 7,500 to 17,500, that's like the top Chairman's Award amount for the top finalists. So kind of what happens here, to explain it a bit better, is there's a group of winners, and then the top finalists will compete for the higher award levels. And there's also internship and job opportunities. And this happens through network of companies, recruiters, talent acquisition events. And FSF will also provide a platform with current opportunities. The LinkedIn group chat is great for this. They always post when they find out new opportunities to apply to. Mentoring program as well, to be assigned a mentor during the year of your award. I was assigned my mentor. It's Georgie. She's the co-founder of Milk Makeup, so I'm super excited. And alumni benefits include the LinkedIn group chat, as I said, the Alumni Association of over 1,700 plus past recipients, and everyone is so nice and so welcoming. Taisha, who's pictured here, we talk on Instagram all of the time, even though we weren't in the same FSF class, and she's super supportive. And FSF also has a lot of summer events that you can attend. Even next week, we were just talking about Diane von Furstenberg. So these are all great benefits of the scholarship.
So FSF, they have some great partner companies. A lot of their partners, you know, they participate in their talent and acquisition fair. Of course, you know, we were able to have it in person January of 2020, and I actually did attend. And that's where I met a recruiter for Macy's, and I went on to get an internship with Macy's. Of course, COVID changed all of that. It got canceled, but still, FSF still stepped in, and they were able to do a virtual talent and acquisition fair. So these exact same companies, I mean, Michael Kors, Bloomingdale's, Sperry, they all participate in the virtual one as well. So you're still getting that one-on-one time, that ability to connect with recruiters that you probably normally wouldn't have just being in college. So yeah, their partners are just amazing. They're always so impressed with us. And I would just say, just from personal experience, just having the case study and being a winner on its own, that is just such a resume booster. And, even if, you maybe start with one of these companies, or even if you don't start with one of these companies, going forward, it's always so impressive for employers just to see just in general. So yeah, the internships and the career placement, it is definitely a very big plus to winning this. You just get access to some really, really good companies, and they're just willing to work with you. They're really helpful. And even FSF, they'll even personally kind of reach out and see where you are in your internship search, where your career is going, what it is that's important to you, and where you would like to be. So it's a huge perk to winning, for sure.
Mecca, you just graduated, as I mentioned, and we were talking about career placement. So have you been placed in a career?
Yes, I have been placed. So yes, I just started as an assistant buyer for Neiman Marcus. Definitely a dream job. Did not expect to get it, especially just being from Georgia, not really having access to big internships. So really, the Fashion Scholarship Fund, when I say they played a huge role in my career and my resume, it's just been amazing. So yes.
Congratulations, Mecca. We're really happy for you. So I'm
Thank
so happy
you.
that worked out.
And so just going forward with that, in addition to the career placement, the mentoring is also a huge part of the Fashion Scholarship Fund. With those same kind of partners that they use for the internships, you can also have that same access to them as mentors. So having that mentor guidance is really just as important as having an internship, having a career. They're there to kind of help you and guide you through whatever path you choose to take. It's great to have that advice and someone that you can talk to one-on-one about what it is that you really want. I know sometimes in college, your advisors, they kind of just focus more on, the coursework and your class schedule, but just being able to speak to somebody that has been there before and wants to see you succeed. The Fashion Scholarship Fund has definitely been very purposeful and intentional with making sure that you're paired with a mentor and that you have the guidance that you need. I can't wait to get my mentor. I know Hannah has a really, really good mentor, Georgie from Milk Makeup. So yeah, the mentoring is another major perk to participating.
Thanks. Hey, Virgil, did you want to maybe talk here a little bit about the mentoring you're doing virtually? And I know Samuel was a good example of someone you mentored who then presented with you to the Virgil Abloh Scholars. Anything you wanted to add about just mentoring and why it's so important to you?
Yeah, mentoring is the best shortcut into building community. It's important to build relationships to sort of progress in a career of this type. And yeah, it was great to have Samuel Ross, who I'm a mentor to, who now has like a very formal career of his own and an identity of his own. And so not just to rehash stories, I wanted it to be a tool for people within the postmodern, and the FSF community that we're forming, to see that dynamic, to understand how, they and their mentors can move through their careers together. Mentorship, I find, is most vital. I'm not like a stranger to speaking about how valuable I think it is. And having this program and having the infrastructure with the FSF to get that done on a regular basis, I consider, a part of my practice.
Nice.
So moving through alumni benefits, professional development events, there are several ways that we kind of interact as alumni through the Summer Scholar Series, talent acquisition events, as we've said. There's also an accelerator grant program. So previous FSF recipients can then compete for a $50,000 award to launch a business. And so many of you, these like in Gen Z, I think, are so excited to grow their brands. And this is a great way to do that. There's also alumni professional development events and the LinkedIn group that we talked about earlier, which is a great way to stay connected and see what everybody's up to. That's how I found out about Mecca's new position. So it's great for that as well. And then moving into the Summer Scholar Series overview, this is kind of what happened in 2020 to give you an idea of the type of people that you'd be able to engage with over the summer, such as Tommy Hilfiger. We have Georgie, as we said earlier, who's great, as well as Lindsay Peoples-Wagner, who's now the editor-in-chief of The Cut. And Mecca, what was your favorite one? Because I think you went to a few of these last year.
Oh my gosh, yes, definitely. My favorite one was the Black in Fashion Council one that they had. So of course, Lindsay Peoples-Wagner, it had Sandrine Charles, and I believe Chrissy Rutherford was a part of that too. That one was hands down my favorite. I know last year, with everything that happened, Sandrine Charles and Chrissy Rutherford, as well as Lindsay Peoples-Wagner, they all kind of created new initiatives. The Black in Fashion Council, I know Chrissy Rutherford did 2BG. And so to kind of hear about those initiatives, like just months after they had started them, it was amazing. Like I have nuggets from that conversation that I still turn to today. So yeah, the Summer Scholar Series, it's a really, really good program to be a part of. You actually want a certificate if you complete a certain amount of them. So that's really good to put on LinkedIn, really good to put on your resume as well. And it's just, it's almost like mentoring in and of itself. They have so much advice to give to students, no matter, what field you're trying to go into within fashion. I remember we talked to Virgil for the first time, and that's where he kind of announced the Postmodern Scholarship. So yeah, the Summer Scholar Series is a really great way to, see these big figures in the industry and just have these conversations virtually. I think that's the best part of it all. So yes, really good program.
And I'll only add again to anybody who's viewing is the sooner you get into our application portal, and it really just means completing the first step, letting us know who you are and the school you go to and giving us contact information. To Virgil's point, we want to include you in as much as possible. We don't want to wait for you to be a scholar. So please, the sooner you can get into our portal, the sooner you can participate in a lot of this programming, especially what we have starting next week.
So yes, here are the deadlines in the submission process. So it's a pretty simple submission process. From the beginning, again, just kind of like as Peter mentioned, you'll get into the portal, do your application, and then after that, step 2, of course, is going to be completing the case study. And so with that, it may kind of differ depending on what advisor you have, but I know for me personally, my advisor, they had pretty set dates for when they wanted, which slides to be submitted, the time frame for having it all ready. They wanted to make sure that we had it ready like way ahead of time so we could tweak and, make changes to it. So I think that's just really important to kind of have those deadlines kind of set in your mind, just so you don't get bogged down with school and, trying to complete it. You want to have enough time to make it, your best. So then in addition to that, you'll also do a cover letter, and there'll be an additional question for Virgil Abloh Postmodern Scholars, and you'll do your resume and your unofficial transcript with that submission. And finally, you'll be confirmed that it's been submitted. This will be around October, and you find out that you win in December. So it's a great process. I found out I won on my birthday. So yeah, it's pretty simple process.
Thanks, Mecca, and thanks, Hannah and Virgil. So now really like to open this up to anybody in the audience who has a question about any aspect of what we just presented or about the Fashion Scholarship Fund, specifically about Virgil's Postmodern Scholarship Fund, questions for Hannah or Mecca just about their experiences. Elise, I think it's probably best if you can traffic the questions and then just put them to whomever you think is best suited to answer them. That would be great.
Yes, my pleasure. So we've gotten some great questions coming in. The first one has to do with eligibility for the Postmodern Scholarship Fund. And this is from Halima in the audience. And she's asked, does GPA matter when applying for the Postmodern Scholarship?
It does matter in the sense that there is a eligibility requirement, as I think Mecca mentioned, of a 3.2 overall GPA. So that is one eligibility aspect that you should be cognizant of. So
Great, good to know. And this one is specifically for Virgil from an attendee, Jade. She's asked, I know that your brand Off-White is based in Milan. What made you choose Italy? And do you have any tips for a young American designer who wants to work and establish themselves and their brand there? Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I'm reporting live from my desk in Milan as we speak. And, just even while today I'm working here, the piece of advice that I got early in my career is specific places on earth specialize in making specific things. That's the nature of the earth, but also it's important on like traditions in making things. So within Italy, the country is known for production of a certain type of fashion. So fundamentally, just coming here, building community, making relationships made it possible for me to find the right suppliers to do things that I wanted to do within clothing. And my trajectory was very much like debunk this idea that streetwear was a trend, and instead replace that with it's just the next generation designing. It's not relegated to like easy or cheap or disposable. So basically friends of friends, meet one person, build relationships, take meetings, be open to listening, makes Italy in Europe, Portugal, as well as great places for young designers to come, because there's factories that need new ideas and they need new brands. That's how factories work. So just from a pragmatic level, that helped. And I found it as an easier time than within the US trying to find, fabric suppliers and factories.
Thank you for that, Virgil. The next question that we've had submitted is from Jayla, and she's asked, is there an advantage to participating in one discipline over another for the case study in terms of competition or evaluation criteria?
I'll let Hannah and Mecca chime in, but I think, we have 4 distinct disciplines. I think you should definitely focus on one and one that you feel really comfortable in. I think, we should share that design and product development is always a very popular discipline. So if there's another discipline that's interesting to you, like merchandising and marketing for Hannah, you might consider that might be a case study discipline that isn't as popular, and then the chances for your success are greater. But I'd really encourage you to focus on one and not 4, and really take the time. I mean, one of the reasons we have this arc of opening the process in April and closing it in October is to give you enough time to think about your case study topic and make sure it's special and there are enough points of difference, and allows you enough time to then submit your application in October. So, take your time and be thoughtful, and do something that excites you. We had one of the finalists last year who was a supply chain submitter. He didn't know anything about supply chain, but he decided this is the thing I want to learn about. And his passion for learning came through in his case study, and he was actually a finalist together with Hannah. Anything you want to add, Mecca or Hannah, just about why you chose the case study discipline you chose?
I think for me, I looked through all 4 of them because you can browse the different prompts, and I went with the prompt that I thought I could personally be successful in. So definitely take your time, look through what each case study for each discipline is asking you, and where you see the most value or where you feel successful.
I would definitely piggyback off of that. You do want to go with something that you feel very comfortable with. I did merchandising for both of mine. And of course, being an apparel merchandising major, that's just kind of what I knew best. But I will say that there can be some overlap. I know even doing the merchandising discipline, there was still some design aspects to it. I mean, I did create a product for both of them. So you can kind of have some overlap with them. And again, I think it also just goes back to you really applying your passion to it. I mean, supply chain may not sound like the most exciting, but I know the guy that made top 4 that Peter just mentioned who did supply chain, I mean, he did it on, I believe it was Champion. And I mean, you can really make it your own and really make it fun, but also make it viable. So just choose what you think will work best with what you're interested in. And yeah, you'll be able to, there's really no advantage. It's going to be great no matter what. So yeah.
Great, thank you. And now we have another question for Hannah and Mecca. Jillian has asked, she says, hi, I'm a 2021 scholar. This question is for Mecca and Hannah. How do you all better yourselves or work harder to broaden your concepts?
I guess for my case study, I was trying to think of what hadn't been done or like who was still being left out of the conversation. And that's how I kind of got to like the age inclusion concept, because I think we see a lot of different types of inclusion, but that's one that's taken a little bit longer to be accepted in fashion and specifically beauty, because I did a beauty case study. So also feel free to do accessories, do beauty, do things like that as well.
Yeah, yeah, for mine, I would definitely agree with Hannah. Just go for something that you feel is missing. I did think that I kind of felt like, Gen Z really does go for, their heritage. They really don't mind representing their heritage, I think more so than their parents do. And so for me, I kind of just felt like, well, this is a market that I kind of think fashion is kind of missing out on. I feel like, this is something that people can personalize. I mean, they talk about personalization, but I feel like this is about as personal as it gets. So definitely just kind of seeing what's missing, seeing, what is a product that maybe a brand is neglecting. I know DVF focuses on the wrap dresses, but I said, let's go for these bucket bags that are reversible. So maybe go for a product that's, not really utilized, go for a concept that, maybe something that sticks out to you, but there's nobody else in the industry is really talking about. So that was really just my motive, was just seeing what was missing, what was needed, and also what could work in the future, where our generation is going next, where fashion is going next, just kind of seeing, what would you want to buy? What would you think your family would want to buy? Where is fashion going? So that was my motive.
Thank you. That's great advice. So thank you both. The next questions I'm going to kind of lump together. One of them is just to clarify, this is open to fields beyond just fashion. Example, I am an art direction student at SCAD. And then another question on how an applicant would find the link to apply for our competition.
The answer to the first question, I think we really very purposefully designed this competition to cover different disciplines so that it is not just for a student who is studying design at a fashion school. A lot of the schools in our network are not fashion schools, but they're schools at which you could be studying something that could get you into the industry. And that's why through design and product development, but also merchandising and then marketing, analytics, and supply chain, there are opportunities for you if you're a business student or if you're studying any kind of non-fashion discipline that has an application in the industry. I would encourage you to feel that your experience and what you're learning is very, very relevant to the competition. And what we're really trying to do as an organization is bring as many talented students as we can find into the industry. And the industry is one that needs not just designers, but it needs data analysts, it needs merchandisers, it needs planners and buyers. So I would encourage you not to feel at any kind of disadvantage if you're not pursuing a design course of study at a fashion school. This is really, really open. And to the student who asked the question, who's at SCAD, I mean, it's open to stylists and visual merchandisers and folks who want to be creative directors. So any creative dimension has an application in one of those 4 case study disciplines and in the competition. As far as the link to the portal, I believe that the best way, and Marie, you can jump in and correct me, is if you connect with your educator at your school, he or she will then give you the link and the ability to get into the portal and get signed up.
Yes, that's correct. All of the educators at our member schools receive that link prior to April 1st. So just connect with your FSF educator. And by the way, that list of educators, in case you're not sure who that is, it's listed on our website with their email addresses.
Great, thank you very much, Marie. And Virgil, this question is specifically for you from an attendee named Adriana. She's asked, Virgil, how do you deal with creative blocks or burnout while having to continue to supply new ideas for your brand?
You know, creative block is it's usually, obviously, it's a mental thing. So I find it easier to prevent creative blocks by continuously thinking and working, and also fostering the other sides of my creativity, you know, music, fashion, art, films. You know, when you put yourself in a position to be inspired by all these different aspects, ideas solve themselves, you know, they work themselves through. And I think it's important to realize that creativity isn't a cutthroat thing, you know, like the lulls in creativity actually build stronger ideas. So lastly, it's more about, you know, the perspective than the goal or the challenge.
Thank you for that, Virgil. Now we have an attendee named Jasmine, and she's asked, she's a fashion design student at Drexel and is wondering how much do sketches within your presentation matter? So Marie or Peter, do you have anything to chime in on that?
I know Marie has a point of view on that. I think they matter a lot. I think if it's something you feel comfortable with and it's a, you know, a métier that you feel allows you to express yourself, we'd encourage you to show us your hand. It's hard on a deck, especially if you're a creative, to represent yourself in one dimension. And so I think sometimes machine drawn CADs don't give us a sense of you as well as, you know, something drawn by hand. I'd encourage you, if that's something you're comfortable doing, to do just that. Because as I said earlier, it would be a point of difference. It would, you know, really allow us to see another side of you. So Marie, do you agree with that? I hope.
I do agree, Peter. You know that. I love hand sketches. They're just beautiful. But for those of you that maybe are studying product development and not necessarily illustrating by hand, you can use CAD. It's perfectly acceptable. And you know, just try to put as much detail into your sketches and your CAD designs. And then we also do ask for some flats as well, and with the call outs as to where the stitching is and any detail that you want to share. So the more you put into it, the better it is, for sure.
Thank you, Peter and Marie. We have a question from Janaya in the audience, and she has asked, is this Postmodern Scholarship Fund only for HBCU students?
No, it is not. It's definitely by definition for any student at any one of our 66 colleges and universities who is Black, African American, or of African descent. So that is not meant to be limiting by any means just to HBCUs, although we added HBCUs to an existing group in our 66. We'll be adding more, but we're also really working with a lot of schools at which there is a student population that's a significant one with students of color. And so not limited to HBCU students.
Excellent, thank you very much. And we have time for one final question from Natasha in the audience. And she has asked, she said, I am wondering if there are any places we can find references or resources for our case study. It is my first time applying and I would really love some guidance.
Yeah, Marie, I know will chime in on this one because again, we really want to help you. As Virgil said, we want as many quote unquote winners as there can be. So first place, go to the website, look at the class of 2021. Every single winner, every single scholar has his or her own link to their CV, but more importantly, to their case study. So you could see Mecca's and you could see Hannah's and you could see the other 118. That'll be a great place to start. And then we do share with our educators winning case studies to give the educators a sense of what has worked in the past. So I would work with your educator on that. And then we have a lot of alums from your schools that we can connect you to that would love to help you, not coach you, but help you to kind of navigate the process. So reach out to us if you're at a school and you'd like to be connected to an alumnus, but start on our website and get a little bit of flavor of the case studies that you see links to there. I think that would be a great place to start. Marie, anything you want to add to that?
No, I agree with you, Peter. I will say that the case study was released early, and there's a reason for that. You really should take your time, and I'm sure Mecca and Hannah will agree with me on this. It takes time to really read through and have an idea resonate. Something will come to life. Just keep reading through. Then once you start your case study, you want to start early enough so that you can do the research. The most important thing about our case study prompts is that it's creative. We don't want to see a concept that another company or brand is already doing. So we need something creative. That takes time, as I'm sure everyone here can tell you. So take your time, do it in small stages. If you have an educator advisor at your school who can take a peek at your project periodically, that's great. If not, as Peter mentioned, we do have alum that can help in terms of offer some guidance.
Thanks, Marie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it, right, Elisa, in terms of, and I know we've got a bit of a hard stop. Virgil, is there anything you wanted to add before we sign off?
No, I think it was a really great, concise session. I just want to highlight what URL or what location can we direct people to sort of find out the critical information to apply.
Marie?
So they can absolutely go to our website because we have most of this listed there. And if there's any other questions that you'd like to submit that are not already listed, you can send your questions to info@fashionscholarshipfund.org. Those questions will come to me if it's specific about the case study, and I'm happy to answer them and offer any support that we can give you.
Thanks, Marie.
Mm-hmm.
And we are a small team, but we're available and we're communicative and responsive. So encourage you to reach out to the office staff and to Marie. We're here to help you. We're here to help you succeed in this. And again, one last time, please, the sooner you enter the portal, the sooner we can start to work with you more closely and help you. And as Mecca and Hannah mentioned, the summer is a really powerful summer in terms of 9 weeks of really great programming. We have a session on Tuesday on virtual interviewing and onboarding. And then on Thursday, as Mecca mentioned, we've got Diana von Versterberg. She's in partnership with Kioma Nadi, who's a really dynamic Black woman who is the editor-in-chief of Vogue.com. It'll be a great session. I don't want you guys to miss that. So encourage you to enter the portal. I think that's it on a summer Friday, maybe Memorial Day weekend. Thanks to everybody. Thank you, Hannah and Mecca. And thank you so much, Virgil, for your time today. Really grateful to you.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you.